Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am sharing the best luxury makeup of 2024, and I am doing it get ready with me style so you can see all these products in action. I've already done a dedicated video of my 2024 luxury beauty favorites, but I've gone in depth and in detail about those favorite products. But of course, like always, I have to do a get ready with me video so that you can see these products in action. So I'm going to get started with the skin today. And I actually don't have a favorite primer that came out in 2024 that I can recall using. I was trying to place. I obviously love the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint, but that was released in 2023, so I don't have a new primer to test out. So I'm just going to move straight on to foundation. And my absolute favorite foundation that was released in 2024 is the Chantecaille Just Skin Tinted Moisturizer. I do have mine in two shades. I have the shade Glow, which is a little bit deeper, and the shade Vanilla, which is a little bit lighter. Both of these tones are on the warmer side. Both of them work for me, but honestly, mixing them together is how I get my perfect shade. So I like to just take like a pea, I guess less than a pea-sized amount of both of these products just in the palm of my hand. And then from here, I just like to use the palm of my hand as a palette, and I like to mix those shades together. And then I'll go in with my foundation brush, which is the Refer B04. And I will evenly distribute that product onto the brush just so it goes on my skin evenly. Just sometimes if you don't do the dots on your face, because that can just mean that you just have product sitting in one area, like too much product sitting in one area. So I just like to apply foundation so I get the most even application. It's going to be much easier to apply and just handle when you go in with an even distribution onto your brush. I promise you it will make your life easier in the long run, even if it seems to take a little bit more effort. So what I really like about this foundation, this was a reformulated foundation. Chantecaille did reformulate this foundation, and I'm very glad that they did because this is fragrance-free, it is cruelty-free. I'm kind of going on a more like clean beauty journey. Not fully, like my channel will not become a clean beauty channel, but just in like my everyday life, I do want products that are fragrance free, that are just a little bit better for my health in the long term. And I'm really happy with this foundation formula because not only is it clean, but it also is a really high performing product. It just leaves my skin looking so glowy, so hydrated, so plump, but it doesn't leave it feeling greasy. I think a lot of the time when we think of a tinted moisturizer, we think that maybe it has the potential to leave us feeling greasy towards the end of the day, but this has such a beautiful longevity to it. Even though it's a tinted moisturizer, this was released in the summertime, and I was so impressed with how it performed in the summer because even though it was very hot and humid where I live, and the weather was definitely warmer, it still performed exceptionally well considering. And I didn't have any issue with longevity. The best thing about this foundation, though, is its blurring technology. This has like one of those new technologies that a lot of new foundations are, where it blurs and smooths and perfects the pores. So everything in the front of your face just looks very smooth and looks really filtered, even though it's not giving you a ton of coverage. I think a lot of the time those pore blurring foundations that are marketed have a lot of coverage. And I don't want that. I just want my skin to look filtered, but without it having too much coverage where it looks makeup-y. This is virtually like a no makeup type of product. You can really see your skin texture through it. So I just absolutely adore this foundation. Like I said, it's a very high-performing, beautiful product, and I love it every time I wear it. It is just gorgeous. And again, I talked about it in the summer months, but even though it is the winter time now, or it's not quite winter, but it is getting cooler out, it's very high performing in the cooler months as well. Like my skin is quite dry and it never leaves me with dry flakes or anything. It's just lovely. This product was actually not released in 2024, but it's something I picked up in 2024. And this is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light Medium. It says it's an all over warming complexion tint. And literally that is what this product is. It's marketed, like don't think of this as a cream bronzer because you will be disappointed if you apply this as a cream bronzer. This is just a skin enhancer. It is going to give you an overall warmth to your complexion versus it being a very high contrast product that's going to give you like a lot of definition or that's going to look like a bronzing product that is, again, quite a lot deeper than your skin tone. This is just going to slightly warm up your complexion, give you a little bit more health to your skin, without it being an obvious product. So this is what I like to call like almost a transition shade from your foundation to your bronzer, because it's just going to allow that transition to be a lot softer, a lot more smooth if you apply a skin enhancer between your foundation and your bronzer. It will just leave for a better blend, kind of like you use transition shades as an eyeshadow, like in your eyeshadow technique. I really, really, really love this product. It obviously has been hyped up for so long, and there's a reason it is. It's a beautiful gel-based product that, even though you would think it would be really greasy looking on the skin because of its formulation, because it is that more gel-based, I find that because it is that gel base, it's so easy to blend, it's so easy to apply on the skin because it just glides and melts onto the skin, but it also does have a little bit of a dry down effect so that it won't remain sticky or tacky on the skin, which sometimes these cream products do. I just love this. I can't say enough about it. It does lean a little bit more neutral to cool toned, and I just am really happy with that product. My number one concealer that was released this year was a latecomer, and that is the Westman Atelier. This is the Vital Skincare Concealer in the shade M1. M2 would definitely be a better match for me, but I was just very impressed with this concealer on initial application. I loved it from the first application, which sometimes does happen with products, but to consistently remain a product that I'm pulling for on a daily basis says high things about this concealer. So it is a doe foot applicator, and I really like the packaging of this. It is very luxe. It is very weighty. The packaging is honestly stellar on this. It is very beautiful. So how I like to apply this is actually applying a little bit to my hand first. You can obviously apply it from the doe foot to your skin directly, but I just like a little bit more precision with my application. So I'm going to dip in with a brush from my hand, and then I'm going to apply it to my skin from there. So I'm just going to bring it on the under eyes first. This is when the look's going to start coming together, because things kind of look a little crazy when you have a little bit of a cream bronzer on, no concealer. But I really like this because it is very lightweight for a concealer, even though for Westman Atelier, I feel like we associate a lot of her products with light coverage, with really natural looking skin, really skin enhancing. This product, I would say it's still skin and beauty enhancing, but it definitely is more coverage than you would maybe anticipate with some of her releases. Just going in with a little bit more because, like I said, she is well known for very natural looking makeup, but this is definitely like a straight up medium to full coverage foundation. It has a lot of pigment to it. And I will say that these formulas from Westman Atelier, this does lean quite warm. It's classified as a neutral shade, the shade M1, but it is very, very warm. So I wish it was a little bit more neutral, but that's okay. I can make it work. And this really has a skin-like quality to it. So it does leave a more natural finish. It has a slight radiance to it, but it's radiant in the way where the light just refracts off of it versus it being a shimmer. There are no shimmer particles to this, but I would say for that reason, it's probably a concealer you don't want to use all over your face just because it can reflect the light a little bit. But because I apply this on my under eye region, I do like that effect because it refracts the light, meaning that it's going to add like a little bit of brightness, and it also is reflecting the light in a way where it blurs. So it has this really nice blurring quality on the under eye region. And it's just really pretty because it remains consistent. When you apply it at the beginning of the day, it's going to look just as good and it holds up really well all throughout the day. So it's not going to crease or fade away or look worse for wear towards the end of the day, which a lot of concealers have that potential. And I'm just really impressed by this formulation. I would say this is, a lot of you guys ask how this compares to my Surratt Dewdrop Concealer, and I would say it's the most similar formula. However, this one has a little bit more of that light refracting to it where I can use the Surratt all over my face. This one, again, reflects the light a little bit more, so I wouldn't. And I think the Westman Atelier has a little bit more coverage than the Surratt as well, but they are very, very similar in how they wear and how they, I guess, apply and everything. Like it's a very creamy, a little bit of a thicker concealer, almost like a serum-like texture. This clip might look slightly different from my last clips because I actually filmed this whole video and then this file got corrupted. So I'm having to refilm this part of the video. So don't mind if things just look slightly different. I tried to keep everything kind of looking the same, but I'm going to move on to the skin. And I actually have plans tonight, and I wasn't going to include this Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tint in my best of 2024 video, but I really want to use it. So I'm just going to include it and show you guys. I feel like because I have shown what the NARS blush looks like on its own anyways. So I'm just going to show what this blush looks like. So this is the Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tint in the shade number 41 Flaming Red. And besides, this was actually released this year. And I just want to use it and talk about it. And this is a blush I literally can't put down. So I feel like it's going to be in my best of 2025 video for sure, because I just love how this looks on the cheek. You literally just need one tiny dot, and that little tiny dot goes the furthest way. I apply it with this BK Beauty N15, and I like using these synthetic brushes because they're not going to pick up as much product, especially because this is a bit of a fluffier brush. It is dense, but it's also fluffy at the same time. So it applies creams really, really well. And you just need the smallest amount of product because this is pigmented and a little bit goes a very long way. But I absolutely love the flush of color that this gives. It is so natural on the skin. It truly gives a blush from within sort of look. And I really like this formula as well. It is different from a lot of liquid blushes. When I think of liquid blushes, I think of something like the Rare Beauty liquid blushes, which are ultra, ultra pigmented. And this is really pigmented, but this still has less pigment than the Rare Beauty blushes. But it's not as sheer as some of those liquid blushes that are more of that sheer formula, like say the Say liquid blush, which is a sheer yet dewy formula. This will actually set down on the skin, or at least on my dry skin it sets down. And I find that once it sets down, it wears all day long. I have no problem with longevity, but you have enough time to blend that it's not going to set down instantly. Like, say, for example, the YSL blurring blush, that liquid blush. I think I have it somewhere over here. This blush right here. This dries so, so, so quick that you need to move quickly, where this, you actually have time to play with it before it sets down. But I just love how it looks every time. And then sometimes I do like to run any excess product just over the lips, just so I can get kind of a similar color story on the lips. It will give me a little bit of a stain there. And then from here, I'm actually going to do my lipstick. I'm going to take the NARS. This is the Explicit lipstick in the shade Envy, number 830. This is kind of a default favorite because this is the only new release that I picked up in 2024. And I'm very proud of myself for kind of sticking to that and not picking up a bunch of lipsticks that I absolutely don't need, because I rarely go through a lip product. I did pick up multiples of the YSL lip gloss, the Candy Glaze, just because might as well apply this. This is just a holy grail favorite product. Oh, I just love it so much, and I will continue to purchase this. The absolute best bronzer that I tried in 2024 is this Chantecaille Sunstone Real Bronze. So Chantecaille released this bronzer as a limited edition collection. Previously, we had the Sunstone bronzer in Sirena and Goa, but these have been discontinued now, so we just have this. It is not permanent as limited edition, and I highly suggest you pick it up if you wanted to try it out, because these bronzers are perfection. I have no idea why they discontinued that formula, because this is truly one of the best bronzers in my entire collection. I absolutely love the formula of this. So this is a Baked Gelée bronzer, and Baked Gelées are very unique because these are actually, they start out as a cream or a liquid, and then they are baked down into powdered products. So they're very unique because they are very hard pressed. They almost feel like they feel very suede-y, they feel very velvety, they feel very smooth, and you're not gonna get a lot of powder kick up. So you need a more dense brush to pick up these sort of products. I really recommend a natural haired brush like this Rephr 22 brush. I like this because this is a bigger, fluffier brush, so it's gonna give me a more generous application, and it's gonna give me kind of an all over color that's a little bit more sheer versus a really small, dense brush, which is going to just pack pigment on in a very specific area. So I really like this type of brush. Again, I'm not going for a contoured look, so I like these fluffier brushes. I really like this formula, again, because it is silky, it is finely milled, and the best thing about a Baked Gelée, so I like to just pick it up and I'll get the excess off on the back of my hand. The best thing about a Baked Gelée formula like this is how it blends onto the skin. So you get that application that applies just like a powdered product, so it's very easy to apply versus a cream, which can be a little more difficult to apply sometimes, but it melts into the skin like a cream product would. So I say give it about 10 minutes and you will just see that powder transforms on your skin and it becomes one on the skin. There are no harsh lines. It just seriously melts right in like you've applied a cream product. So I find these formulas very interesting. They are very unique on the market. There aren't a lot of formulations like that, like these. So I just really enjoy having them in my collection. And I really prefer them over to some powder bronzers because of how skin-like they look on the skin. These truly are like no makeup bronzers. They are stunning. And I'm going to take a BK Beauty 202 and I like to just get a bit of that bronzer and I'll apply it to the outer corner of my eye kind of here. And then I like to just run some kind of in the crease on the eyelid just so I get a little bit of that dimension out here too. I think it just looks really flattering when you have a little bit of that in your eye as well. The best blush of 2024 is this NARS Blush in the shade Behave. I actually really went back and forth between this Lawless. This is the Vintage Love Make Me Blush Velvet Blush in the shade Vintage Love. I really, really love this. This formula is like a hard press powder formula. It's just a typical powder formula. But I really like how it sits on the skin, and I love this color. I think my favorite thing is probably the color of this. And then this NARS blush, they reformulated them this year. And I just find that this is a really nice, silky, velvety blush. It is a little bit more sheerly pigmented. You do have to build it up on the skin, but I really like that. And I like that this is just a neutral with a slight hint of pink to it. It's like a peachy pink. It's really beautiful. It is silky. It is smooth. It is way better than the previous version. So I'm glad we have a reformulation that removed the talc that is actually better than the last version. So as always, I'm taking a Rephr 05. I get that excess product off on my hand. And then I'm just going to press onto the skin. And it's just truly stunning. I really like how it layers over top of that Armani blush as well. I think it just gives a really pretty flush of color. It's just a nice color story together. Moving on to pressed powder, I really love this Clé de Peau Refining Pressed Powder. This was, again, a reformulation, and Clé de Peau just really nailed this reformulation. I've actually already hit pan on this. If you're looking for an elegant, refined, very sophisticated powder that doesn't change the texture or the color, sorry, it does change the texture because it makes everything look really blurred and poreless. It doesn't change the color or the coverage of your foundation underneath. I just really enjoy that because sometimes I don't want to change the color or add any coverage. I just want to make everything look blurred and poreless, and this powder is going to do that. You just need the smallest amount. I'm taking that on a Rephr 18 because I like a bit more of a precise powder application. I am dry, so for me, I really only need precision powder application. I only need powder in certain areas. I don't require it all over my face. Otherwise, I can look a little bit dry. But even if you have dry skin, this is a great powder because it will never leave you feeling dry if you don't feel tight or anything. But I think this would work for oily skin types as well. If you do have an oilier skin type, you might just need to touch up a little bit throughout the day. But this is just so gorgeous on the skin. It is incredibly lightweight for a powder. There is no powdery look to this powder. So it's a powder you can trust won't look like makeup on your skin. This is an undetectable powder, but it makes your skin look blurred and poreless and soft focus and just gorgeous. As a final step, we have the best highlighter of 2024. And for me, this was that Hindash. This is the Gradient Highlighter in the shade Doll Dynasty, which is a pink champagne shimmer. So it shifts from this, like, I guess it is a pink. It's like a corally pink, I think. And then it shifts to this champagne. And it's just really beautiful how it shifts in the light. So what I like to do is I'll take a BK Beauty 201 and I just like to pick it up. I'll just kind of sweep it back and forth. And then I will just apply it to the very tops of the cheekbones. I just love how this reflects the light. It definitely is a more intense highlighter in that it gives you a glow, but it's not a chunky glitter. Like, it doesn't have those chunky shimmer particles. The shimmer particles are very closely packed together. So it just gives you a really sophisticated glow versus it being a really obnoxious, again, something that you can see, like if you can see shimmer particles sitting on your skin, you can't see that with this highlighter. And I really, really enjoy that about this product because it gives you that intensity without it being obnoxious. So I really, really love that. And it is so, so pretty on the skin. It's just so It's like soft but intense at the same time. I don't even know how to describe it because this is another baked product. So when you apply it, it does have this technology to it where it really just melts into the skin. You can't see product sitting on top of the skin. It just becomes one with the skin, and it's just so glossy and gorgeous. And now we can get back to the original footage because this is where my camera cut off. Now, my absolute favorite quad of the year, or my eyeshadow palette, was this Clé de Peau eyeshadow quad in the shade Coral Reef. I picked it up in January of this year, even though this quad was released in 2023. I picked it up in 2024, and I just love this color story. Love it so much. I really want to use this today, but I did use that NARS blush, which leans a little bit warmer. So I'm worried that they might clash a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of this Lawless Vintage Love, the Make Me Blush, because it's a little bit more cool toned. And hopefully that will help cool down the cheeks, just so this look will look a little bit more in tune together. Like it will just be a little bit more monochromatic. I don't want my eyes to be warm and the cheeks to be, or sorry, I don't want my eyes to be cool and then the cheeks to be warm. It kind of just contrasts too much. So I feel like that's going to help. I'm going to start off with this prime shade right here, which is this putty shade. It's the only texture that's different in this palette. It's a really, really interesting texture, and I'm putting it on a Rephr 15 brush. I'm actually switching to a Rephr 01 brush, and again, going in with that putty shade. And I'm laying this down all over the eyelid. I'm kind of bringing it up into the crease as well. This just adds a really beautiful sheen to the eyes. And it is slightly lighter than my skin tone, so it adds some nice brightness as well. Kind of just brings the eyes forward a little bit. So I'm just kind of layering that up. And then I am going to go, actually no, I'm going to go into this shade here, which is like a dusty pink color. Taking it on that exact same brush, and I'm just going to get it onto the tips of the brush. As always, I get the excess product off on my hand. And I'm just going to first apply this to the outer corner of the eye. And then with any excess product, I'm going to bring it just lightly into the crease, just ever so slightly to add a little bit of a transition there. But I don't want this to be a very dramatic look or anything. So I'm just being very light-handed with my touch here. And these Rephr brushes are nice because they do pick up quite a bit of product. So you don't need to be heavy-handed with the powders or anything. Just super easy to blend, especially over top of that primer shade here. These shadows just blend like a dream. I am going to take a Rephr 02 brush, and I'm going to go into this shade here, which is, it's a really beautiful shimmery neutral brown. I think this is my favorite shade in the palette. I'm going to place that all over the eyelid, going from inner corner to outer corner, and I'm blending it a little bit into the crease as well. I'm also going to take that same lid color, and I'm just getting that on the tips of the bristles, and I am going to run that along the lower lash line. So I'm going to take it from the inside corner to the outside corner, just so I have a little bit of color down on the lower lash line as well. I'm going to take an itty bitty flat definer brush in the deepest shade in this Clé de Peau palette, and I'm going to use that as an eyeliner. So just taking that and just distributing that color in between the lashes on the top lash line. I don't want it to be too smoky, so I'm just staying really close to the lash line just to get a little bit of depth there. But again, I don't want anything crazy. Another thing I really like to do with this eyeshadow quad is I just like putting this as a one and done all over the eyelid, and then I'll blend that out into the crease. So it's a really beautiful just one and done. You can use this as a base underneath the one and done. There's so many ways you can play up this palette, but I just feel like this color story was very deceiving to me because the name Coral Reef, you'd think these would be more orangey tones maybe, but this definitely is just a more rosy tone palette. And before I tried this palette, I really thought I hated pink tones on my eyes. So it was very welcome to try that out, and I actually love it. I'm going to go in with my mascara combo, which is the Dore 3D Lash Primer, and then the Chantecaille Bronzer Longest Lash Mascara, which is my new favorite mascara of 2024. So I'll be back once the mascara is on. I've gone ahead and added mascara. I used my Chantecaille Bronzer Longest Lash Mascara. That is not right. This mascara here, which is my favorite mascara of 2024, along with the Dore 3D Lash Primer. So that is it for the makeup look today. That is it for this video. Those are all my 2024 luxury beauty favorites. I would love to hear from you. What are your favorite products of 2024? Please let me know down below and we will keep the conversation going. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.